Greetings, everyone. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another edition of Dream Setlist, along with Martin Popoff this morning. We're going to be tackling Nazareth.
Absolutely.
A very cool band that I never got to see back in the day with the original band. I only got to, in fact, I didn't see them until Dan McCafferty's last tour. So I had to wait a long time. So as you can probably imagine, I'm going to be a little creative when it comes to my dream set list for this band. So I don't know about Martin. I don't know if Martin's had a chance to see them or, we don't compare notes when we do these. So again, we're doing this show all throughout the month of March, different band every day. So I'm very curious to see what Martin has conjured up after his delightful Deep Purple set last week. Curious to see what you put together for Nazareth.
All right. So yeah, I'm absolutely along the same theme. Never saw the classic original lineup that had all the hits sort of thing. This is a band that I had a brother who is now passed on. He's deceased. He died about 8 or 9 years ago, age 49. This was his favorite band of all time. He was big into music, had a good life, had a lot of health problems along the way, but this was his favorite band. I was thinking the other day, it's probably Nazareth, Cheap Trick, and then Nazareth, then Rush, then Cheap Trick, and then Kiss. So this is an interesting one where I thought, our first concert that we saw together was Ted Nugent, Rex, and Bebop Deluxe in 1976 in Spokane, Washington, just over the border. So I thought, what if our first concert would have been his two favorite bands, Nazareth and Rush? And this actually took place the previous year. And there's a synchronicity that it's happening in the big city that my family had as more or less the home big city, which is Vancouver, which is 7-8 hours away from where we grew up, which is Trail, BC. So we're in the middle of nowhere, right? So September 26, 1975, Nazareth actually takes Rush on a tour. This is 2 days after Rush's Caress of Steel came out. And so this is their Rush had toured with Nazareth before, but this is the big cross Canada tour. So this is actually opening up the eyes of Rush to the rest of Canada, which, is ironic being a Canadian band. But the cool thing about this is that Nazareth's biggest territory in the world, pretty much, at least in the early days, was Canada, even though they're a UK band. So that's the other cool thing about having this set list. So they're on the Hair of the Dog tour, which is their biggest album. All their records are going gold in Canada, and they went gold for quite a while. So here we are. We're seeing Nazareth, and we're actually seeing Rush support them. I actually looked it up. Rush played probably something similar to Bastille Day, Anthem, Lakeside Park, Necromancer, Bytor and the Snow Dog, Working Man, Drum Solo, In the Mood, something similar to that. So we're getting to see Rush, as they're climbing out of the, Down the Tubes tour. And this is actually the last date of this big tour as well. So it's Vancouver, Pacific Coliseum. I also looked up that apparently they had like 14,000 people at this show. So it's a big show, right? They're more or less getting close to having a full, major league NHL hockey barn here. And that's how big Nazareth was. They made a lot of money touring Canada all through those years. So that was really cool. So let's get on to the set list. So they open with Hair of the Dog. It's got to start with cowbell and the big drums and the big hit, nice heavy song, right? So we kick off with Hair of the Dog, move into Changing Times, also off the new album at the time, Hair of the Dog, the other really big heavy one. Then we go into Too Bad, Too Sad. So this is just a rock and rollsy headbanging set. And again, to reiterate, I never saw the band at that time with the classic lineup. I never saw Daryl. I never saw Manny. So we're seeing this obviously in the fall of 75. Then we're into Jet Lag off of Rampant, which is another heavy one, but with kind of a stop-start thing, which, in the grand scope of things, for these sets to sound good in these hockey barns, you want to have the songs with the dynamics and the spaces in them sometimes, right? Then into Glad When You're Gone, which is a little bit of a deep track, a little bit of a retro song off of Rampant. The recent album just before Hair of the Dog. Then we're into Go Down Fighting. Great one off of Loud and Proud, Not Faking It, the heaviest song off of Loud and Proud, which they actually didn't play live very much. Then we're into Teenage Nervous Breakdown for the continuation of our Loud and Proud suite here. And in that one, Lowell George comes and joins them on stage. Lowell George wrote this song. It's a Little Feat song from 1972. He didn't die until 1979, drug-related death, right? Nazareth were obsessed with Little Feat. They just loved that band. They also loved the Crazy Horse album, believe it or not. I'm talking with Pete Agnew recently because we've got that, Nazareth coffee table book thing coming out soon, right? So we're just kind of working towards getting that thing finished. But talking to Pete, it's like they covered 2 or 3 songs off of that Crazy Horse album, and then they even wanted to cover 2 or 3 more. So that's weird. But yeah, so I had to go back and play that record again because I knew nothing about it, right? So but they're kind of the same way with Little Feat. They loved Little Feat. Roger, they turned Roger Glover onto Little Feat. So yeah, Lowell George comes out for that. Then we have a little lighthearted moment because it can't be all headbanging all the time. Broken Down Angel, which was a pretty big hit for them off of Razmanaz. So that goes over as a good kind of melodic country rockin' light moment. And then we do a little bit of imagining and time travel to pay homage to some of the later albums. Because this is a band where my favorite albums by this band are the early classics that everybody loves, but the last few, including Rock and Roll Telephone as well, and let's see, we got the Big Dogs, The News, and Move Me, plus these ones. So I'll imagine that they had these songs written and they've been in the can for years and years, and they never they never put them on a record yet. Radio from Big Dogs 2011, Back to Before from Rock and Roll Telephone. These are really nostalgic sort of songs. And Light Comes Down from Boogaloo, which is a great rocker. It's one of the band's favorite songs from the later years as well. Then we're into Bad Bad Boy. That one goes over well with the spaces in it and the snare drum, when he's singing kind of thing. Silver Dollar Forger, probably my favorite song off of Rampant. Then This Flight Tonight, because you got to throw in one of the hits so they don't destroy the Pacific Coliseum, right? Always a theme in one of my set lists, apparently. And then for an encore, it's Shanghai in Shanghai, which is a bit of a hit off of Rampant. And it's a good party rocker. And then Razmanaz, which is a combination of a hit and a super heavy one, and one that will go over well because it's got the spaces in it. And then this is the last night of the tour. So Rush comes out and they do Space Truckin', right? Because, Deep Purple gave Nazareth their start. They went on those early tours with Deep Purple, and then Roger Glover was producing them, the big albums. And even Razmanaz is a little bit of a rewrite of Speed King. Pete Agnew told me that story. So they love Deep Purple, and this is a great vocal showcase, and it's a great drumming showcase. So to have all the guys up there, miraculously somehow they quickly set up Neil's drum set again, so they even got 2 drummers powering this whole thing. So they're doing Space Truckin' to close out the night, and this gives Rush the idea that, hey, maybe one day we might want to do this again, and they do Battle Scar with Max Webster. So there you go.
That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I like that. I like the fact that you took some of those strong tracks from the more recent albums and throw them in there, because you're absolutely right. I think Nazareth early on in the catalog, really strong, struggled a lot in the 80s and the early 90s, and then came back with some really, really potent albums. Before Dan decided to retire from the band. So that's pretty cool. I never saw the Deep Purple thing coming at the end. That's pretty fun. Right. That's pretty fun. Well, kind of like Martin, I'm going back in time here and seeing the original foursome, because that, to me, that's the classic lineup of the band. I never got to see him back then. I'm going to go to 1978. So this is going to be a couple of months after they released the, let me get it here, this album right here, Expect No Mercy. So it's going to be the Expect No Mercy Tour 1978. It's going to be in New York City at the Beacon Theater. Good sized venue, holds, 4,000 or 5,000, something like that. And, I think they probably, like Martin mentioned, they probably were doing bigger halls at the time, but I think the Beacon is just kind of intimate enough that would really make this an enjoyable show. And they're going to, I got all the CDs here. So they're going to open up the show in wild fashion, which they did quite a bit, I think, right around this time, and certainly for the next couple of years, with Telegram, off of Close Enough for Rock and Roll, which is a pretty cool song, kind of an epic song to start things off. From there, we're going to go to the title track, and I'm going to do it early in the set just because I want to kick the audience's ass right off the bat with Razmanaz, title track to this great album. From there, we're going to go for a couple of new tracks from Expect No Mercy. We're going to do the title track, Expect No Mercy, and then Revenge is Sweet, two really heavy songs. So as you can see, I'm into the heavy stuff here. From there, we're going to continue on. There's no lighting up here. From there, we're going to go to Miss Misery from Hair of the Dog, arguably one of the heaviest songs they ever did with that big brontosaurus, not quite the other kind of riff that we always talk about here on the show. not quite the Geronimo riff, but more of a brontosaurus riff. From there, we're going to go to the Rampant album for a little Jet Lag. This is actually a very underrated album. I just want to throw that out there. And both Martin and I are choosing a lot of songs from this particular album. From there, we're going to dip back to Hair of the Dog. Not Hair of the Dog, Expect No Mercy for a little Kentucky Fried Blues. So we're going to get some real kind of swampy, heavy blues track there. Then we're going to go to Soul My Soul from Razmanaz, which I think is a really kind of, we're almost at the midway point here. So that's kind of like slow and doomy with that great vocal from Dan at the end where he's screaming up a storm and classic like Ian Gillan style. From there, we're going to do another new track from the new album, New York Broken Toy, another good hard rocker. Then we're going to go back to the Close Enough for Rock and Roll album for another really heavy one, You're the Violin, which, God, did they ever play that live? I don't even know. And then we are going to go to a Geronimo riff. So we're going to go to Alcatraz from Razmanaz. Okay, with that cool kind of like Native American heavy riff at the beginning. From there, we're going to go back to Hair of the Dog for another underrated heavy track from their catalog called Changing Times, which is, comes right as like the fourth track on the album. Really, really heavy, gritty song. From there, we're going to go get a little fun into the set, a little Go Down Fightin' from Loud and Proud, which is this bad boy right here. From there, we're going to go to a little Shanghaied in Shanghai from Rampant. We're going to stick on the Rampant album for Silver Dollar Forger, both parts. Another really great underrated track from them. Then we're going to go back to Loud and Proud for Not Faking It. And then the last song of the set is going to be Too Bad, Too Sad, another really heavy, fun song from Razmanaz. And then, of course, band's going to go behind the stage, come back out for the encore, and they're going to finish off the entire evening with Hair of the Dog, right? Nice. A little audience participation there. So no ballads, no mellow pop songs, all cranking Nazareth start to finish. And I would kill to see that show.
Yeah. Must say, an interesting thing that just kind of hit me. I went for a jog the other day. I was listening to a Nazareth BBC set from 73, 74. They were a smoking band live back then. Like they were, when you hear those, things about the magic of Led Zeppelin, that when they're absolutely on, that's what this whole BBC set sounded like. They were so good, right? And it's because they really paid their dues. They were essentially in this business playing at least part-time since the mid 60s, right?
Yeah,
as they went along. So they got really, really good. So I think they would do probably a very, very good job on either of these sets, which were pretty similar, right? And it's
in a way.
I started with Hair of the Dog, you ended with Hair of the Dog. So
yeah. And I just realized, because sometimes when you have all these songs listed on your notes, you overlook a couple. So I did miss two of them. So I forgot to mention Witch Doctor Woman, the really heavy track from the first album.
Here, I tried to find something from here that I wanted in there, but I couldn't. There's one of the rare shots of the band that you see.
I know, right?
Remember there was a Nashville Pussy album cover that did a parody of this, right?
Yeah.
It looks exactly the same. Yeah.
And the other one was, because I wanted to get something off this album, was Somebody to Roll from Playing the Game. So those two were in my list, and somehow I just kind of looked right over them. But pretty jam-packed set list. God, that's over 15 songs, right? So, but I would love to see it. So
yeah. Very cool.
Well, maybe someday when they invent those time machines, Martin, I will make many stops along the way. But that's one.
Yeah. Wicked.
Okay. All right, so I want to thank Martin for joining me today on this edition of Dream Setlist. So you know the drill, everybody. If you're watching, create your dream Nazareth set list in the comments below. It'll be interesting to see what everybody puts together. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. Of course, we're on YouTube all the damn time and every day going forward for the month of March for a dream set list show. Martin, anything new on the book front?
Yeah, I suppose. Right now, the Flaming Telepaths, Imaginos Expanded and Specified is, I'm packing up a lot of those every day. Rush Driven in the 90s and in the End is coming in about a week to 10 days. And the Sweet Book is still pretty recent. So those three are happening all the time. martinpopoff.com.
Cool. Awesome. So go check those books out and all the other ones that Martin has. It's all a great read. I got a whole shelf of them just right over there. So, so stay tuned for other stuff on the channel over this weekend. Let's see, what do we got? Butch Jones is coming back on the show this weekend. We're going to do part 2 of our favorite guitar riff show, as well as do a dream set list show. You knew this was coming of Thin Lizzy, because Butch is the biggest Thin Lizzy fan on this planet. So that's coming up this weekend. Lynn Versace's coming on the show on Sunday. We're going to do dream set list for Queensryche. We are going to do what else are we doing here? Ranking the albums of Def Leppard and top 10 songs of Jefferson Starship. So Lynn and I will be busy on Sunday. So that's all happening this weekend. And then we got Hudson Valley Squares coming up on Monday night, and lots more stuff happening next week. So stay tuned for that and more. I am Pete Pardo. For Martin Popoff, I am Pete Pardo. Have a good weekend, everybody. See you later. Bye-bye.